So it's the iPhone 16, or I guess technically we are 6 months into the refresh cycle of the iPhone 15, around halfway there. People are always asking, is it worth waiting to buy the new one? Should I just get the iPhone 15 now? What are the new features coming? This is pretty much all the leaks, rumors, everything that you need to know about the next gen iPhone that's coming this September. So the big thing that I want to chat about first is the design. Very similar in terms of the overall, I guess, like form factor. So currently right now on the 15 line, we have the iPhone 15, 15 Plus, 15 Pro, and 15 Pro Max. In terms of the sizing for the current lineup, we have 6.1 to 6.7, and the same for the Pro model, 6.1 to 6.7. On the 16s, we'll still have 6.1, 6.7, but 6.3 and 6.9 inches. So the Pro models have slightly increased in size, and that's because of slightly thinner bezels on the Pro models, which I'm always a fan of. I would say the screen to body ratio right now on the Pro models is pretty decent, but those will become increasingly thinner with a slightly larger display. In terms of colorways, we currently have 5. We might be moving up to 7, so that will be pink, blue, yellow, green, black, white, and a new colorway, which is purple. It'll be interesting to see what they do with the colors for the standard model. So right now, of course, if we take some previous gens of iPhones, we have the, of course, iPhone 15. This is actually the 14 Plus, and before that, I think this is actually the 12. I think I'm missing like a colorway in between, but they've gone consistently lighter over the generations. Whether the new one, the 16, will be even lighter from some of the leaks and rumors, I don't think so. There's really nothing lighter than this very pale blue 15. Obviously, the 16s will still be aluminum, and the 16 Pros still, of course, titanium. We currently have the raw or the natural titanium, which is my favorite, the black, the white, and blue titanium. I could see them just swapping out the blue for some other titanium color. Once again, that's all speculation. Switching on to the next big difference, which is the camera modules on the back. So for the 16 models, we're actually gonna see a orientation change for a stacked model. That means the camera modules will be lined up on top of each other. Expect that to be the same 48 megapixel sensor, but I'm sure some slight tweaks and improvements to the ultra wide just to make it a bit better. But it's also a big reason why cases unfortunately don't fit on the new gens, just because of that shift. It's a great way for Apple to sell new accessories when they charge like, $50, $60, $100 for a case, depending if you get it in the standard silicone or their fine woven cases, which do not hold up. They've gotten a ton of flack. More on that in a second. To the Pro models for the cameras, we'll still see the 3 different sensors, but we have, of course, the 5x zoom on the 15 Pro Max. Expect to see that 5x on the standard 16 Pro, because right now we only have the 3x zoom on the 15 Pro. Interestingly, for the first time, we're gonna get a brand new camera button across all modules, and that will actually sit below the on and off button on the right-hand side. That will actually be on the lower side. So when you switch the camera to say, landscape, you can quickly access that and snap a few photos. Weirdly enough though, the action button right now, which will also appear across all models, that can still theoretically launch the camera, but that hard press camera button will be a welcome feature for a lot of people that really use their phone a lot for photography, which iPhones still have some of the best photography in any sort of smartphone. Chipsets across the board will be a bit more standardized, because right now we have a bit of a mismatch. So on the 15s currently, we have the 16 Bionic. On the 15 Pros, we have the 17 Pro chip. So across all of them, we will have the 18 Bionic and the 18 Pro. Easy enough. We'll get a bump up of RAM to 8 gigs instead of 6, and I think one of the biggest changes will be software-wise. Obviously, with the implementation of AI, you kind of see it everywhere. We will see some pretty big improvements to Siri. I know that Apple is working closely with Google, because I'd still say Siri is probably the worst AI assistant across the board. It just doesn't work that well. It'll be interesting to see how that changes along with the big new iOS 18, which I can kind of cover in a separate video. Last but not least, battery life. So on the displays, like I mentioned, they'll actually be a bit more battery efficient. So that means battery life should last longer. I didn't really see any numbers on like milliamp hours, but right now on the larger size models, those last around like a day and a half, maybe a day if you're a heavy user. Hopefully with those new display efficiencies, we will see some longer lasting battery life into the 2 days for the larger ones, and obviously a full day, a day and a half with the smaller devices. So if you kind of want to end the video now, that was my sum up of the new iPhones. Since I mentioned this is kind of halfway through the life cycle of the 15 Pro. My current daily driver is the 15 Pro Max. I've been using this kind of nonstop. In terms of like battery life, even though I've used it heavily for 6 months, my battery health is sitting at like 98%. I still need to charge this though at the end of every day. In terms of this being a daily, I've absolutely loved it. I have rocked my phone naked since I've got it. I do love the feel of the titanium. It feels great. I have dropped it a couple times, like I was actually just in Monaco for Formula E. I dropped this like in a car on a fast lap or a hot lap. The phone was janking around in the bottom. Yep. That's literally my phone janking around all good. Thankfully, the only thing that cracked was the screen protector on it. So in terms of like accessories, I'll kind of go through some of my favorites. These are just kind of my go-tos. Obviously, I have a D-brand protector or a screen protector. Put them on every device you get, you need it. Apple's tech, or what they call it, is ceramic shield, which makes it a bit less prone to cracking or shattering, but makes the glass actually softer, so more prone to actual scratches. That's why technically having a screen protector, I think, is a must. If you do have to rock a case on it, usually my favorite go-tos are these Nomad leather cases. Like I mentioned, Apple has discontinued their leather case lineup, replaced it with the fine woven cases. I've got one here for my 15 Pro and it has just not held up. It doesn't look good. There's something that you still can't get away with, you know, natural leather. I think these ones are great. It's pretty much unbranded. They patina really well and it gives some extra protection to that camera bump. The one thing that I've noticed around my camera, as all older iPhones, the coating on it has kind of worn away. So when I take a photo initially, I tend to have to like wipe the camera like on my shirt or something just to give it a bit of a clean. That's pretty normal. Like I mentioned, performance on it has been absolutely great. No real big issues with it. I will say for the storage, I'm lucky to have the largest storage size option, but because I take like, you know, photos, videos for a living, since I'm being a content creator, I actually rarely shoot in the Apple ProRes RAW. It just takes up way too much storage. Even having just like, say like an extra, you know, hard drive, I could technically attach this, record video. The file sizes for them are just so massive, and I never have enough time to, you know, stick an Apple ProRes RAW video, send it to Final Cut, grade it, edit it, post it back to social. I find that I just kind of post stuff straight from my phone to social media. That's just kind of my workflow. But curious if any of you have this. Is it worth it waiting for the next gen model? I think that's like the golden ticket question. I feel if you've waited this far, you've kind of waited that 6-month mark, it's probably worth it to wait another 6 months just to see what Apple will come out with. If any of those rumors, those leaks, that larger display, obviously increased efficiency for that display, better battery life. You know, I'm not expecting too many big changes coming to the camera, but I think, you know, what I mentioned is worth kind of waiting for. Curious to hear your thoughts though. Are you happy with the new changes of what's coming to the next gen 16? Do you feel like Apple did enough? And I would say maybe another great point to mention for waiting, if you're eyeing the 15 or the 15 Pro right now, when the 16 comes out, these always get subsidized. They always go on sale. You'll save a couple extra $100. So that's just another reason to wait, which is my official stance on it. So if you know any other leaks, rumors, any other cool info coming out for the new next gen one, leave them down below. You guys can discuss them. I'll catch the rest of you in one of my next ones. Peace.